long week of practice, and it's a chance for you to do anything, kind of add anything differently that you normally have in the last few weeks?
No, the focus right now is on our players' academic lives. They're no different than any student that's here. They're in finals week. They're, finishing up final exams, final papers. There's a lot of stress, a lot of time spent. As much as you want guys to work ahead, everybody's done it at some point that's gone to college, and that is, you wait till the end, and there's some really long nights and heavy days where you're focused on finishing that one class or raising the grade. So that's our priority. We're fortunate in years past, we've kind of played a game during this week, which made it even harder. We're lucky that we have the break that we do, which really allows our players to focus on that. And, with Dusan and Parker and in Keanu's a little different because he hasn't been here for 4 years, but those guys are really coming down the home stretch of graduation. So, for them to have the freedom to just to focus on that, that's our number one priority. And we got together on Monday. We took Sunday and yesterday off, and then we'll have 3 really good, hard days of practice to focus for New Mexico.
Is Keanu, being as a 2-year transfer, will he have time to graduate?
He'll graduate. He's going to need some classes beyond the spring, and it had nothing to do with how he's performed here. It makes the rules of graduation and just the NCAA, how a couple things have changed in terms of requirements, what they count, what they don't count, that it puts a little bit more pressure on a junior college guy to be able to get it done right there in the spring of his 4th semester at a place like Arizona. But he's moving in the right direction, and he'll get his degree for sure.
What's pleased you most over this last 4-game stretch?
Well, I think one of the things is, we've won all 4 games, but 3 of the 4 were against top flight teams. I think teams that have a chance to really have good seasons and not only be in a tournament, but, I think if you look at each one of them individually, they'll be a tough out, if they're in the tournament. They can win games in the tournament. And to be able to beat those teams, 2 of which are away from McHale, I think gives our team some confidence. Coming off the Bahamas, there's a lot to repair when you lose 3 in a row. Part of it is just guys believing in themselves and in what we talk about, and that we can be a good team. And I think we've been able to restore that belief and confidence because we've fought, we've made plays. We were down big in the half against UNLV. The game against Texas A&M could have gone either way a number of different times. They were undefeated at the time. And then, a talented group like Alabama, we made big plays down the stretch. We came through, and I think in each of the 3 games, you could clearly point to improvement in a certain area. And also what's exciting is, back to confidence, we can also point towards a lot of things we could do better, especially on defense. We just can continue to grow and be better every day by working on it.
What have you seen just from film now that you've had time to evaluate, and what's it like going forward?
New Mexico?
Or from Alabama, just what you physically look back and what you were impressed with, what you were disappointed with?
It's what I thought. We rode 2 great individual performances, and look, everybody here at Arizona has seen some wonderful players and teams and magical moments, but Alonzo, I think, has gone for 20 or more points multiple times this year in one half. It's really hard to score 20 points in the college game. He's done it in a single half, I think 3 or 4 times. I could be wrong, could be more than that. And I think that's a remarkable stat. I think it shows the explosiveness of him offensively and how talented of a scorer he is. His continued development as more of an efficient offensive player where he's not a volume shooter. He's more of a guy that is able to score in a very efficient way. His ability to score inside the arc right now for a guard, I would say, is probably as good as anybody in the country. Consider his free throw attempts and consider his 2-point field goal percentage. But he was a big reason we won the Alabama game, and I don't know if I talked about him enough. DeAndre's performance speaks loud and clear. When you have somebody who can score 29 points, he missed 4 free throws, and get 18 rebounds, it's hard to lose. But a reminder to our team why the game was so tight Some of it had to do with the fact that we were playing against a good team, but our defense was, porous. I mean, they scored. We fouled them. If we needed a couple big stops, we didn't really get them, so the game came down to the final minutes instead of us maybe riding a 10-point, 15-point victory because, we played some really good offense, especially those two players.
What does it say about the Pac-12 that a team like Arizona State, which wasn't picked to be one of the top few teams in the conference this year, goes into a place like Kansas, one of the toughest places to win. They win their top 5. What are your thoughts on them this year so far?
Well, it's I think the days of cheering against a Pac-12 opponent ended many, many years ago. I don't know if everybody feels that way. It's almost like human nature that you don't want certain teams to win because, it almost puts more pressure on you. That's not the case here with how I feel or how we feel. There couldn't be a better moment for the Pac-12 than ASU's win at Kansas. It gives our conference credibility. It allows more teams in our conference to get into the NCAA tournament. Not just ASU, but when you have an RPI as high as they have, they're ranked as high as they are. It's like a balloon. It pulls everybody else up in the league, and it gives our conference a chance maybe to add that one extra team in March that we wouldn't otherwise be able to get. It helps us. It really does because we play ASU twice. But Bobby Hurley, he's en route right now to be one of the coaches talked about for National Coach of the Year because of what he's done with their program. This is his 3rd year. He's played a tough non-conference schedule. It shows a lot of guts to play the schedule that he's played. And what ends up happening when you do that is, you're not going to win the game unless you show up in Fog Allen Fieldhouse and play them. But they showed up and they beat them, and that's quite a statement. So I think they have a great team. They have those guards playing at a high level as far as I can see, but they have experience. And I haven't watched them a whole lot other than more from a fan's perspective, but their results speak, really clearly. They beat Xavier, and I do know Xavier's team very well, and I think they're one of the country's best teams. So the fact that you can go to Kansas and Xavier, I would imagine that ASU is, they might be underrated where they're at right now. So whoever plays them this year is going to have a really tough game, obviously. But it's great for our conference, and I think the more that we win as a conference before we play each other, that's only going to allow our conference to have the most teams in postseason play, and really that's what we all should have won.
So that game Sunday, you're still a couple weeks from playing them. Did you watch that game when they were at Kansas Sunday afternoon?
Yeah, I'll stop there. But we have to play New Mexico.
I'm just wondering, you're so locked in normally. I'm watching video and going over, but do you sometimes a game like that, is it fun to watch?
I only watched a little bit of it. Yeah, that's it.
Do you agree with the notion that ASU being better helps you because when other teams are coming to Tucson or if to Arizona, they have to prepare equally for both teams, or they definitely can't overlook one team or the other?
Yeah, you can look at that a number of ways. No question that the trip to Arizona will be tough, and hopefully we'll hold our end of the bargain up. We're the team right now that's, I think, more of a work in progress. So that's yet to be seen. We'll see how we do in the final 3 games of our non-conference season. I think our performance here leading up to our Christmas break will, again, speak loudly. It's not what you say, it's really what you do. Did you win? Did you not win? Who are you playing? Who did you beat? And we have three tough games, each of them separate from each other, but anytime you go on the road and you play a program like New Mexico, Paul Weir's done a really good job at New Mexico State. He's going to do a great job at New Mexico. I know that they have a great fan base. We're looking forward to playing a game in that arena. It's a historic arena. So, when you play against a crowd like that, a team like that, in a non-conference setting, venue, on a true away court, those are really rough games, but those are the games that make you better. And if you'd ever be fortunate enough to escape with a win, those are the wins you really hang your hat on. And I think that it not only gives you confidence when you get into conference play, but it gives you those moments and wins where people respect. And going to New Mexico is a very respectable moment for us. How we go about it, we'll see. We have to lock in here on the heels of finals. to have 3 really good days of practice and make sure we're focused on that game.
How much clarity is there with your rotation now that Rowley's going to start to ramp up and get the minutes that he's expected to get?
You know, we're figuring it out. You know, we don't have it totally figured out just because, you know, if you trade places with me, you've watched Rowley practice 5 times and play 22 minutes in one game. So we know Rowley, right? But how it all fits together, what's going to bring out the best in our team, I think some of it is just we have to keep going here. We have to keep watching and making sure we're closely monitoring, you know, who deserves and who sometimes plays well together. You know, same thing with substitutions. It's one thing to get somebody in a game, but it's a whole other thing to allow them to get in the game and play with some confidence. So we have to figure it out. There's no team in the country that plays everybody, and we're going to be like every team in the country when it comes to that. But I think those roles will be clarified here sooner rather than later, and my hope is as we get into the Pac-12 season, we'll have things set.
Does Rowley had any soreness or anything since
No.
practice or game? So could he play more than 22 center? Yeah.
He could, yep.
Is he ready to start?
You know, I think he is. As long as he's able to get through these practices here and we take a look at it, I think it's just a matter of time before we make that move. You know, that's not going to be at the expense of anybody who's currently starting, as much as, you know, putting our 5 best players out there at the opening tip, and the players that deserve it. You know, I mentioned this, but you know, Rowley won the gold jersey in the 5 practices that he had. It wasn't that we gave it to him as a charity. I mean, he clearly earned it, and that's quite a statement when you don't practice for that long and you come in the 5 consecutive practices, and you know, you end up being the best player in that week. So he's a better player than he was last year, and I'm anxious for him to get to that level. Like I cautioned him and everybody, you just don't snap your fingers and magically he's there. There's going to be a process, both for our team and for him. That process, thank goodness, has already started, and I think that each game he'll be more and more comfortable, and we will be more and more comfortable as a team with him.
Saturday, does he start if he keeps playing well, or Brandon's playing well too? So
Yeah, we're not there yet. I don't know yet.
What does he add emotionally to the team? Feels like there's a little bit of a confidence boost with him back.
No doubt. You know, some guys have that confidence where you just look in the eye and you just know they believe in that they're ready. And when you have a group like ours, which we have so many new faces, I think it's really healthy to have somebody who has that confidence and that look in their eye that they believe. And Rowley has both. It's just how he's wired. It's one of the characteristics that made him such a successful freshman a year ago, because he was confident. And, you know, Kobe Simmons was the same way. You know, both of those guys embodied a lot of confidence in themselves, in a belief in what we were doing. And, you know, that's the reason that we were able to have such a successful non-conference season with those 2 guys as starters a year ago, and Lowry as well.
You pay attention to like mini lineups like in the NBA where you have this center plus this small forward plus this point guard is suddenly 70 points plus net rating.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a lineup combination that you guys have that maybe we wouldn't think of, that there's 2 or 3 guys on the court together that are really good?
Should be our starting 5. I've studied that. I've talked to a lot of NBA coaches and players. Some of them really believe in that plus-minus, lineup differential, and some of them don't. But the thing that they cautioned me on is, you have to realize you're talking about a 48-minute game instead of a 40-minute game, 82-game season instead of a 35-game season, and you're talking about sometimes like a 15-year NBA veteran who clearly knows who he is and it's predetermined how he's going to play, et cetera. So college is harder to copy, plus it's a 24-second shot clock, wider lane. We don't look at that as much, but we're always trying to find who works well with the next person. But in college, I think it should be your starting group. Now that's the group that you're putting out there at the beginning because you think that they're the most functioning, most talented group you can put out there at the tip. So that's what I would say should be eventually our lineup.
You talk about the confidence coming back, and yet last year you had those freshmen with that kind of swagger, confidence. I mean, is this team still lacking a little bit of that confidence that you had maybe a year ago at this time, or is it about the same at this point?
I don't know. What's fresh on my mind is just, we weren't a very confident group in the Bahamas. I think that's obvious. And, some of it is you lose the first game, and, again, that second game's on you quickly. And whether you win or lose that second game, that third game's on you equally quickly. And in our case, we played a terrific team in Game 3 on top of all of that. So maybe there's an asterisk next to, like, confidence in a tournament like that when it doesn't go your way. But in the month of November, I think we're very, very much a work in progress. I still believe that. We're a better overall team, though, than we were then.
Has this been maybe as unusual as far as that as it's been for you this year? We have a team that's ranked number 2. Everybody's saying great things, like you said. Boom, then you go to the Bahamas, bottoms out, and now you're sort of
No, I think the preseason rankings, everybody feels this way. Once in a while, it's obvious, and maybe some of our teams in the past, it's been more obvious. But, it's such a crapshoot to predict top 10 teams in college basketball because, some of those teams that you really respect are dealing with wholesale change. I mean, very, very few have those parts that were there a year ago. If you look at Villanova and Michigan State, those are two maybe that really have a couple of their best players returning as upperclassmen, and that's why they're so good, and that's why they're so good in November. We've had a couple of teams, like that as well. And, the other point is, I don't want to keep bringing Rowley up, but if you would have had a lot of high hopes for this year's team, I would think that you would have that feeling in large part because of the return of Alonzo and Rowley, with Deuson and Parker as seniors, and then the freshman class obviously anchored by DeAndre. Rowley, not only has he not performed or played, he's only played in one game, and I'd say he's about 60% of the player he can be. So, we haven't been at full strength, and I'm hoping that we can have the luxury of getting there and play our best basketball down the road.
What has been the key to Brandon's emergence last 4 or 5 games?
Well, Brandon offensively is really talented. Shooting an open shot from 3 is a great shot for our team. Very few players on our team that I'd like to see shoot that more than him. Alonzo might come to mind. Parker's right there, but Brandon has a lot of confidence, and he can shoot it. He's not small. He can get his shot off as well, 6'5". But the thing that's impressed me the most is, he's offensively put the ball on the floor a couple times, really made some great plays and scored at the rim, and he's done it against some great competition. Again, the teams that we're playing, they don't leave you with a lot of fool's gold of, okay, you do it against this group. How is it going to work when you play against those high major Pac-12 teams? We're already playing those teams, so I think watching Brandon play at UNLV, beginning in the second half, watching him play against Texas A&M, watching him the other night here against Alabama, he's been in double figures, I believe, in all 3 of those games. So we believe in him. The key for him is just to continue to get better on defense, where to be, how to do it, playing against some of the most physical players on the other team, and being able to guard them so his offense isn't negated. But that's no fault of his. He's young. He should have a lot of room for growth. So it's up to us to get him there.
New Mexico, you mentioned Weir obviously did good last year. They're in a weird transition here. It looks like one of their better players may even be out or thinking about quitting. I mean, what do you make of them so far? I don't know how much you've studied them.
Yeah, no, I've watched them quite a bit. They shoot 31 threes a game. There you go. I did a little of your work for you. You can go on that. They play at a top 30 pace. There's a second gift I gave you.
But the three-point shooting has not been that.
But anytime you shoot 31 times a game, I think it's very dangerous, especially at home, especially with the big crowd. You have a lot of guys shooting them. They're capable. Their coach is a good coach. He's not going to let anybody shoot them that can't make them. So sometimes you can go through a stretch where you're not shooting the percentage that you're capable of. But we're well aware of how much they depend on that three-point shot. 31 attempts a game is really up there in terms of comparing that to the rest of the nation. And that pace is a fast push. That's a fast pace. It's going to – the combination of that many three-point shots going up, and then the pace throughout the course of those 40 minutes, they work hand in hand. So I think you see that. And then the last thing is they force 20 turnovers a game. So that's my third gift to you. So you got 20 turnovers a game, 31 threes a game, and top 30 pace. You can run with that.
They also had 19 turnovers against Mexico State.
Right. I'm highlighting the positives and the things to worry about. That's our focus right now is to defend the three-point shot and how they get them, knowing that their front court shoots them. They shoot them a lot in transition. They depend on transition. They're a really good transition team. They thrive in an open court. They want to play that fast pace. And they force 20 turnovers a game because they have a really unique defense. They press, and they switch every screen. Very few teams we play against switch every screen and press. So it's a style that we're not familiar with. I'm hoping that our NC State experience playing against a pressing team like that could help us a little bit. But we're going to have to really take care of the ball and be efficient on offense, try to take advantage of our size, second shots, drives, post-ups. And then those three things that I gave you, we're well aware of, and we have to be ready to go.
Has anyone ever told you, or you heard anything about that Lute Olson story where he refused to go there again because he thought the shot clock guy took his time hitting it down, whatever, blah blah blah. I mean, what do you make of that when you heard about it? And I mean, do you figure that's the way it is sometimes? Weird things can happen on the road, or? Yeah, no, I've heard about it, and if I were Coach Olson, I'd probably feel the same way if that happened. But that was then. This is now. It's a whole new dynamic now with the score table, the monitor where you can check and double check, and it's made our game better so that if a situation like that occurs, it's correctable.
Anything else?
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.